Thank you for tuning in to this edition of Community Producers. I'm Olivia Slade, and today we're at the University of Lethbridge. So we're going to head over to the Student Success Center to see what study tips Aaron Chubb has.
Hi, my name is Aaron Chubb for the Student Success Center here at the University of Lethbridge, reporting for Shaw TV. Today I'm going to be talking about creating an effective presentation and delivering that presentation. There's really 3 P's that you want to keep in mind. It comes down to preparation, practice, and performance. When it comes to preparation, really not that much different than getting ready for a paper. You're going to be doing a lot of research, exploring the topic, hopefully going to the library and getting the librarians to show you how to use the different databases for looking at your research if you're not used to doing that, and then kind of distilling down that idea. You want to have something that's narrow enough that you're able to really get into that specific topic, but not so narrow that there's simply no resources on that at all. So trying to find that happy balance. I would recommend before you jump into creating the PowerPoint or whatever you're using for that presentation to write it out on paper so that you're not wasting your time moving around a bunch of frames on a screen before you have a really clear idea of exactly what you're going to be doing. And of course, whether you use PowerPoint or not is certainly up to the individual choice. The benefits of it is that it makes it fairly clear what you're talking about. People usually have an easier time taking notes if you're using that text sparingly. I wouldn't recommend putting large blocks of text on the screen where people are going to spend more time reading it than actually listening to what you're saying. So use it more as a guide for the audience so that they can help understand your presentation. But you can certainly do an effective presentation without PowerPoint. Use other visual aids or handouts that you could give to the audience as well. The second thing I want to talk about is practice, and that's the step that most people skip. They spend a lot of time on preparation, they get the PowerPoint ready often the night before the presentation, and then they don't give themselves that time to practice. And it's often very different up here than it is when you're actually performing it in front of the audience. So I really recommend practicing it. If you can simulate the actual conditions in which you'll be presenting, if you can practice in the same room, if you can use the same software or other audiovisual equipment, so that, in a sense, do a dress rehearsal so that you're getting all those bugs out of the way before you get to that space. As well, when you're practicing, you'll see things that otherwise you wouldn't notice. You might suddenly notice, oh, this was only 5 minutes and I thought it was going to be a 20-minute presentation, things like that. And it gives you a chance to get the bugs out. If you can present in front of someone else, someone that you trust, or someone else, say in your group or whatnot, if you're presenting in a group, that's definitely recommended as well. Get some feedback, or if you can, practice in front of a mirror or record yourself. So you'll see things that otherwise you wouldn't be picking up by simply practicing it on your own. Finally, the performance. That's the part that gets most people quite nervous. They're afraid that they're going to be messing up in front of other people, and the embarrassment of that performance. Practice will help relay some of those fears. But when it comes to the actual day, make sure that you get a good night's sleep. Don't stay up all night working on that PowerPoint. You want to be in fairly good condition when you go to do that performance. Dress fairly professionally as dictated by the audience that you're presenting to, because you're on performance, not just the material that you're presenting. And remember that you spent a lot of time looking into this material and distilling it into this presentation, and so you are, for that moment, the expert in the room on that matter, and so treat it as such. Have that confidence that you know about this material when you're presenting. I find when it comes to nerves, things like taking a couple deep breaths before you go onto that stage, and I like to look right over the head, just barely over the heads of everyone. So I'm not making eye contact with them necessarily, but just looking right over their heads. It looks like you're looking at them, but then you don't have to make that eye contact if that makes you nervous. That helps as well. And project to the back of the room. So don't just speak to the people in the front of the audience. You'll be too quiet. Project to the back and make sure that you slow down, take your time, and enjoy yourself if you can as well. So those are the 3 P's: preparation, practice, and performance of giving a good presentation. For the Student Success Center and Shaw TV, I'm Aaron Chubb.
I'm Kim Brigitzer, and today I'm going to tell you what energy healing is. The best way to describe it is that as children we felt light and problem-free. As we grew older, we accumulated more heavy energy through our surroundings, our family and friends. We started to worry and think negative thoughts. These negative experiences are stored as memories in our body. Our body takes in heavy energy and therefore problems which manifest as energetic blockages within it. Difficult life situations, physical discomfort, or lack of joy are the result of those blockages or underlying emotions. Problems can include any kind of fear, stress, worries, sadness, and even headaches, just to name a few. A couple of years ago, I took some training on energy healing. It taught me how to address negative emotions by clearing energy blockages. The method is called vesseling because our body is like a vessel. We do an energy healing session to release the heavy energy we have taken on and lighten our body so we feel happier again. Releasing inner blockages is a fundamental component of energy work. Our ideal way of living is blocked by these barriers. The process of letting go of old belief structures and unhealthy emotions shows us a way back to our true self. If you would like to learn more about it, please visit my website at kimbrigitzer.com.
Up next, we're headed to the U of L Art Gallery.
My name is McMaster, and you're here at my solo traveling exhibition titled Confluence. And so this, exhibition comprises 3 different bodies of work that I've done over the past 7 years, and they all, kind of branch off from a lot of the major themes that I deal with, or that I'd like to talk about within my work, which is how we construct our sense of self through specifically lineage, history, and culture. And also I look at, my work comes from a very personal place, so kind of within those major themes, I also talk very personally about my mixed cultural background. So I'm Plains Cree, member of the Siksika First Nations, and I also have British and Dutch ancestry. So my work also kind of looks at sometimes the conflict and the synergy around these two kind of conflicting histories and how I fit in between them and understand myself. And so a lot of my work comes at those questions within kind of this dreamlike imagery. The work also within the exhibition showcases also, my built kind of sculptural garments or objects that I create, to build layers on these dreamlike images. So each of the different props that are within the images I create alone in my studio. So it takes several months for me to make all these different things before I actually photograph them. And so so you can kind of see this within the work here within the exhibition, and again they just talk, each object within the image builds on those layers and brings out those questions that I ask myself of my own identity, and also on talk about our broader collective identity and how we come through that. Been, my family's always held or told stories of my ancestors to me from both sides, and so genealogy was a really important aspect of my childhood growing up, and so I think that always stayed with me up until when I started creating art and wanting to ask and explore those deeper questions of who I am and specifically looking at that heritage. And I think that ever since I was young, I knew, the difficult history of both sides of my ancestry, and that always created conflict within me of how do I understand myself between these two very different histories. And so I think those are questions that I still, struggle with even today as an adult, but in different ways from when I was young. And I think that my work doesn't try to answer those questions. It's really to start those conversations and help me and maybe others to kind of look at, maybe those tougher questions and fill in those gaps within ourselves. You can see my progression from my most earlier works, from my ancestral series, where it basically takes place in a more controlled studio environment, to where I now mostly photograph, which is outdoors in a definitely more unpredictable kind of environment. So you can kind of see that projection or that change, I guess, through my work, and also, yeah, definitely within the ideas, I've definitely seen a growth. All my bodies of work usually stem from a time and a place where I am when I'm thinking about the ideas. So there's definitely kind of a progression into, you can kind of see when you walk through the exhibition of ideas that I was playing with within that moment of those couple years.
To start talking about movement and activity, because obviously that's the other very parallel pillar to preventing fracture and osteoporosis and that thinning of bones. The nutrition, we've kind of talked about those vitamin pieces and the things that we need to make sure we have on board, but that physical activity is so huge, and preventing fractures. We find that most people, when this weather comes up like this, everybody's scared to go outside. Myself and anybody, right? I mean, you're at risk to fall and have a fracture, but truly we should be able to withstand a fall without fracturing. So if we're doing the right things by making sure that the nutrition is on point and that we're making sure that the activity is on point, we should be able to withstand a fall from ground height without fracturing. And of course we're dealing with this terrible weather, but a lot of people will isolate themselves because of that, and then therefore you're not doing that mobility piece that you should be doing. You're only setting yourself further back, because then you aren't, you're just actually not practicing, right? You're just not getting out there. And even if you're gonna go and take a walk or go outside, you take some safety elements, make sure that you have your hands free, make sure you're not carrying a bunch of things. Maybe try using a pair of walking poles. They're fantastic. There's lots of places locally that sell them, and they're experts in it. I know, I think it's Cherry Rock in town that's worked with us frequently before, that does some walking sticks, and they're fantastic. They're really good for extra balance, and they actually are great for upper body strength as well. So, there are other opportunities, but we always tell people to keep moving. I mean, the fall and fracture issue is definitely a concern, but we should be able to build the muscles deep and around the bones so that you can withstand a fall from ground height without fracturing, right? And just reducing the risk, right? Making sure that things are cleared. If you're seeing icy conditions, walk like a penguin, like stay low and waddle. I know it sounds funny, but it truly is. I mean, I walked outside, and for the first time ever, didn't see it at all, and my feet were right up in the air. You land right on your back before you know it. And we're not just talking about elderly people here. Like I was saying before, these are individuals that are 35 plus. And if you do have a fracture, you're more than likely to have a repeat fracture within a year. So, we want to make sure that you're followed up, and once you've completed that physiotherapy that's been prescribed to you, if you've had a fracture, make sure you come to us, and we'd be happy to help that out.
Hello, it's Constable Kara Hagan with Lethbridge Police, and on this version of Cop Beat with Community Producers, I'm going to talk to you about snow conditions because it's been a blistery February and it doesn't seem to be going away anytime soon. So a few things that we want to discuss are winter driving, snow removal, and unfortunately what to happen if you are involved in a collision. So basically we need to remember that when we're driving in these winter conditions, we need to give ourselves a little bit more space in between vehicles. We need to widen our reaction gap and make sure that we give ourselves time to react in these snowy conditions. Sometimes there's ice underneath that snow and we forget about that when a fresh snow comes down. So we need to make sure that we are cautious while we're driving, we're paying attention, we're aware of where we are, and we're aware of pedestrians out walking about. So we need to make sure that we're providing ourselves with a very large reactionary gap so that in case we need to stop suddenly at a crosswalk or we need to stop at an intersection, that we have time to actually stop and make sure that we're safe and we don't hit the pedestrian or we don't hit the vehicle in front of us or slide out. You need to drive slower. You just need to be aware of what's happening around you. Watch for pedestrians. Pedestrians need to pay a little bit closer attention as well because unfortunately sometimes they feel that the spacing between them and a vehicle is sufficient, but it might not be. So pedestrians need to be more aware of where they're crossing, and as vehicles need to be aware of pedestrians as well as just vehicles on the road. If you are involved in a collision, then unfortunately you need to make sure that you swap information with that driver. And if the vehicle damage is over $2,000, you need to attend the police station and come and see our collision reporting center. At the collision reporting center, they will then take care of you. They'll check out the damage. They'll provide you with all the documents you need for your insurance and with a copy of the collision reporting document and a statement from you. So they'll handle you very quickly. Unfortunately, the Collision Reporting Center has been very busy these last few months because of all the collisions with the winter conditions out there. So give yourself some time to be able to fill out your documents appropriately, and in a timely fashion, they'll get you out as quick as they can. When you do see a snowplow out, because the snowplows are out there very diligently right now, which is great, keeping our roads clear, just remember to give that snowplow lots of space. It is dangerous for you to pass the snowplow because they do throw snow in front of you and it obscures your view, but also they are, there's a good chance they're going to throw out rocks or sand or whatnot, so you don't want to damage your vehicle either. So again, give yourself extra time to get where you need to be in case you do get stuck behind a snowplow. Behind the snowplow is the safest place to be as long as you give sufficient space. So give yourself that space. Don't try pass because you can't see if somebody's coming or what's on the other side of that snowplow. So just give yourselves a lot of time when you're going somewhere and leave yourself lots of space between you and snowplows, you and pedestrians, you and other vehicles on the road. We all have to work together to be safe during these winter conditions. Another thing that happens with this snow in the air is we need to shovel our walks. It's very important to shovel the walks because it is a by law ticketable offense if you don't. So you need to shovel your walks and try and keep up with it as much as you can. Unfortunately here in Lethbridge we do get a lot of snowing, melting, which then causes that ice, and then we get snow on top, which is then dangerous for the pedestrians out and about. We really want to try and make sure we keep those sidewalks cleared. If you do have ice on there, throw some salt down and let's work together on making sure it's safe for everybody. Significant injuries do occur when people slip and fall on ice, and we want to try and keep that at a minimal. So another thing that's really important along with shoveling your sidewalks so that it's safe for the pedestrians out there is if you're going away on vacation, which most people like to do in this cold blistery time, they like to go somewhere hot, make sure that you have a friend or a neighbor shoveling your driveway and your sidewalk right up to your doorstep so that it doesn't look like you're on vacation. We want to have the appearance that somebody's in the house so that your house is not a target for a break and enter.
We're outside the CKXU radio station at the University of Lethbridge, and they have an exciting development to share with the community. Ryan Craddock has more.
For the past 14 years, CKXU Radio has positioned itself as Lethbridge's alternative radio station. Broadcasting at 88.3 FM, the station has a small but dedicated audience. However, the station has had challenges in reaching a wider audience with its low-powered transmitter.
125 watts is hilarious, kind of. In Lethbridge, it means that in certain alleyways. I don't want to get too technical, but it means that, so we have kind of a directional, the way our antenna projects, it means that a lot of spots on the west side, like we're on the west side, but a lot of spots on the west side can't hear us. If you're in an alleyway somewhere, it's kind of like line of sight. So if you can't see the tower within like a 3 or 4 kilometer radius of Lethbridge, then chances are you're not going to be able to hear CKXU. Our tower points kind of northeast, so people on the east side of the south side, as it were, can get us fairly well. People on the north side can't really. If you're in the shadow of a building and it's blocking your line of sight to the tower, chances are you won't be able to get it either. So spots in downtown even, you can't get CKXU. So our most reliable source of listening right now is online on our website.
Over time, CKXU Radio has been able to build a listenership, maintain a core of dedicated volunteers, and make improvements to the station overall. However, not everyone has been able to hear the fruits of their labor.
When CKXU first came about in 2005, when we switched over from CKUL, which meant that we also went FM, you know, I think that was initially intended to be like a transitionary kind of process. Like, our gear wasn't great, we didn't have a whole lot of money, so we bought this 125 watt transmitter that did the trick, like covered Lethbridge, and it was, you know, kind of, it was good enough for the time being.
As the city grows and more people choose to call Lethbridge and the surrounding area their home, CKXU Radio decided now was a good time to start extending their reach.
Lethbridge is definitely like coming upon that 100,000 people like population mark, right? So that means that Lethbridge is expanding west, it's expanding south, it's going north, and our signal can't keep up. So we have to make a move to increase our terrestrial strength as soon as possible.
Thanks to the generous donations from community members during the station's various fundraisers, or fund drives as they call them, CKXU was able to raise the required funds to make this project a reality.
So Fund Drive has been a very crucial element to this signal increase project, and it's been really great to be able to, like, you know, rally the troops and our supporters in, you know, in favor of this project. You know, everybody wants to have CKXU like on their journey to Fort Macleod. You know, they want to be able to listen to CKXU outside of Claire's home. Like, that's really important. So getting behind this project for people, I think, has been really, you know, easy, right?
CKXU now has the approval from the CRTC to go ahead with the Signal Increase project, which will involve the construction of a new tower, installation of related equipment, and an official launch later this year. To stay updated on the activities of CKXU Radio and the Signal Increase project, visit ckxu.com. For the community producers, I'm Ryan Craddock.
Looking for a new furry friend? Up next, we're off to the Lethbridge Animal Shelter for this month's edition of Pet Talk.
I'm Officer Skylar Pruitt with Lethbridge Animal Services. You're watching Pet Talk on Community Producers. Today we're going to meet some adoptable pets from the animal shelter and talk about responsible pet ownership. Tundra is a young female husky cross who was found as a stray and never claimed. This pretty lady is very affectionate and playful, but she will need a home that is willing to work on her basic training. Tundra is set to be spayed and vaccinated and will be taking applications for her adoption shortly. This domestic short-hair male is Neil. Neil was found as a stray in November and turned over to Animal Services. This good-looking boy is about 4 years old, and we have had him neutered and vaccinated. Derby is a neutered male who was found as a stray on the north side and never claimed. Derby is shy, but is still very friendly. He would do great in a home where he can lounge and relax all day long. If you're interested in adopting any of these pets or other animals we have at the shelter, you can stop by. You can also call us at 403-320-4099 and check out their profiles on Facebook at Lethbridge Animal Services. Remember, you can share the stories and photos of our adoptable pets using the hashtag #OptToAdoptYQL. Pets are not only part of our homes, but they are also part of the communities that we live in. That's why it's important that we keep our pets happy and healthy in order to keep our communities clean and healthy. It's important to keep your pet's vaccinations up to date. Even indoor pets can be exposed to illness through open windows and dirt tracked in on your shoes. Rabies is rare, but very dangerous. It's important to speak to your veterinarian about having your rabies vaccination updated yearly. This is also very important when you're crossing international borders. Sterilizing your pets has many benefits to not only the animal, but the community as well. Pets that have been spayed or neutered reduce the number of unwanted litters. It also lowers the risk of aggression issues and lowers health problems later on in life. For more information about responsible pet ownership, you can visit lethbridge.ca/animal shelter, check us out on Facebook at Lethbridge Animal Services, or give us a call at 403-320-4099.
Victoria, one of our Shaw TV volunteers, wrote, edited, and produced a music video about enjoying the outdoors called Good For You.
It's good for you. Good for you to ride your bike. Ride your bike to the store. Eat your greens and do your chores. Go outside and explore. It's good for you. Walk yourself place to place. Be kind to every race. Give the earth her praise. It's good for you. It's good for you. It's good for you. Plant your seeds in the soil. Reduce the use of oil. I agree. Use your mind, don't let it spoil. It's good for you. It's good for you. Tap your hands, stomp your feet. Nod your head and move your body. Thank the sun and feel its heat. It's good for you. It's good for you. It's good for you. It's good for you. For you, and you, and all of them. It's good for you. Be good to yourself. Lay your head down to rest. Here we are blessed. Spend some time in the peace tent. It's good for you. It's good for you.